about, there was a mall nearby, that perhaps there was another shooting there. And, was this like a major, sort of mobilized type of effort, where other cities can be targeted? I mean, what was the uncertainty like there? I mean, were you fearful to even travel or
yeah, I mean, I certainly wouldn't have got on a bus or went downtown or anything that day for sure. I mean, the thing you mentioned there about the mall, it's called the Rideau Centre, and it's right downtown. I mean, you could throw a baseball from Parliament Hill and hit the Rideau. And not only is it a huge mall, a lot of traffic, it's also attached to the National Defence Headquarters.
Wow. So,
like, when the police started saying that there was maybe some guy in the Rideau Centre, like, that was scary, because you're thinking, Jesus, I know it's kind of morbid, but I mean, if you wanted to kill a lot of people, that would be and hurt the military, that would be a surefire way to do it.
Yeah.
So you're thinking, Jesus, what the hell are they going to do there? And like all the buses go right through the middle of them. So you're kind of thinking, Jesus, like, are they going to do something there? I mean, the thing you say about Parliament and being more open and stuff than America, like, you can go to Parliament Hill, you walk around the back of it. There's a beautiful view looking over the river to the Quebec side. I think it's every Wednesday lunchtime or something in the summer, there's a yoga class on Parliament Hill. An outdoor yoga class. If that's not the most Canadian thing you've ever heard.
Oh, that's fantastic. I
don't
love
know what
it.
it is. But, and I really hope that doesn't change. I know they'll have to tighten stuff up, but I think, at the time, everybody's, like, not imaginations, but everybody, just because of the news and, obviously we're all involved in another war now, we're thinking, like, it must be a terrorist thing. And
right.
It was important not to kind of judge it as that. Like, let the authorities do their job.
Exactly.
And it turns out that, as far as I'm aware anyway, it was just a guy maybe with mental health issues and stuff. Apparently he'd been living in a homeless in the mission. And so it wasn't necessarily a major coordinated, like, ISIS attack. I mean, he just had like I think it was like a hunting rifle or something kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like the aftermath of it obviously is heartbreaking, because I don't know if you saw the picture of the boy. I mean, he was a 24-year-old young guy.
It's so sad.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
4-year-old son, and it's heartbreaking. I mean, the kid's old enough to know that daddy's never coming home.
And you saw pictures of he had two dogs, and you saw the pictures of the dogs waiting for him to come home. And I mean, it's just heartbreaking. It's so senseless that, we're so, here in America, in the United States, we are so desensitized to a certain degree of this, because it happens so frequently, unfortunately. And for some reason, we just cling to this belief here in the United States that everybody should have, the right to bear arms as it was dictated in the Constitution, which was written, near on 250 years ago. So that means, you should be allowed to tote about with a rocket launcher if you want, or if you want to put a tank in your front lawn, then, there's no sort of governor on that. And it's just completely senseless, but it's so foreign, to I guess that's the best word I could come up with right now for the Canadian people, because you don't have a gun culture per se. But what has this done to the psyche of the people of Canada, or specifically the people of Ottawa? I mean, has this changed the psyche of people with regard to firearms, with regard to needing to have a more militarized society? Are you finding there's discussions about that now, that maybe Canada needs to go towards that, or is it just business as usual? And are you staying firm to the Canadian people? Are they staying firm to what they stand for, which is to continue on with a more open society that's going to have a reasonable relationship with firearms, and not let this event change your way of life?
That's the key thing. I don't think anything's going to overly change. I mean, certainly the people I'm talking to, all my mates, my co-workers and everything, there's no talk that we should be, for want of a better word, Americanizing and like leave that to the authorities kind of thing. I know for sure you're going to see tighter security. Like, our equivalent of the CIA is already trying to change, like, the laws on how long they can detain people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, I don't want to get into the politics of it and stuff, but what I think you found was, like, afterwards, people, as well as talking about the soldier, a lot of people were saying, hey, wait a minute, like, what about this? Like, there was a lawyer who was an ex-reservist or something like that. I think you call it the National Guard down there or something like that.
Yeah.
Like the kind of backup soldiers. and she was like a medic with the Canadian Reserves, and like she, like we didn't, nobody knew where the shooter was, but she ran right in there when everybody was running the other way to give this guy CPR with a bunch of other people, and people were kind of focusing on that and saying, hey, you know what, like that's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
And there's a real, especially in Ottawa, like I've found it's kind of died down now a wee bit, I'm sad to say, but there was a real kind of togetherness. It was like, hey, like, let's just look at it all in perspective. It was one awful guy, one awful event. Like, there's no need to change everything. Like, it's like you say about the guys, when I think you've flown into Glasgow Airport, you see those big, stupid cops with the huge, like, sub-automatic machine guns. I don't even know the name of them, but you know, I don't think you would ever see that in Canada.
Yeah, which is,
I really don't.
I mean, it's refreshing to have that experience. I mean, about a month prior to this event taking place, I went to Canada, believe it or not, for the first time in my life. I can't believe I'd never been to Canada before. I mean, even just by accident. You know, if you live in the Northeast, you should just, you know, by sheer, you know, coincidence, wind up in Canada. But nonetheless, you know, I went to Toronto. And I mean, you're right. I didn't have that same experience either going through security to get into Canada or, you know, returning. Obviously, it's a bit different returning because, you know, you can clear customs in Canada before you come into the U.S. So it's almost sort of Americanized to a certain degree. But I didn't have that same level of sort of, you know, the fear or the security, you know, like that imposing security that you consistently find at every American airport. And of course, that's a reaction to what happened on 9/11. And there's so much fear about, you know, attacks happening once again in the future. And it's sad and it's a shame where, you know, speaking as an American about America, it's almost like we have just traded our freedom and you know, liberty for, you know, this facade or this idea or this I mean, it's just a kabuki, you know, dance that we're going to be more secure when statistically it's just panned out over and over again. I mean, every study says that we're no more safe with all of this, you know, armament and this, you know, a fear, you know, instilled in us. But it's just like we're trying to give the impression like we are. And it would be a shame if, in my opinion, it would be a shame if Canada followed suit, because I admire the way that you know, the Canadian society behaves in so many ways. And, you know, the Canadian, I mean, the Canadian people are amazing. I mean, how polite they are. It's incredible. I mean, it makes me kind of, I mean, it makes me feel, you know, sort of bad as an American, you know, where, you know, you walk down the street and people are, you know, depending on where you are, they can be, you know, quite sort of rough or brusque or whatever. You go into Toronto, you know, I mean, a major Canadian city, and people just cannot be polite enough. You know, I love it.
I mean, wasn't there an American president who said that if you're willing to trade your liberty for security, you don't deserve either, or something?
Benjamin Franklin, who was, you know, probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest American, you know, ever. And you know, one of the framers of the Constitution, and now all of a sudden, you know, that the Constitution is being bastardized to scare the shit out of people and take away their freedom. But you know, I'm reassured and I'm glad to hear that, you know, it seems as though, as sad and as tragic and as terrifying as that experience was, that, you know, the Canadian people are not going to be, you know, thrown off their axis, and they're going to continue, you know, their your way of life, you know, which I certainly don't think you would see like any kind of overbearing security. I'm sure there'll be a lot more like plain clothes, people with guns hidden underneath their jackets and whatever. Like, I'm sure there'll be more people around in case something happens. But I mean, the one of the other amazing things about that day was the guy who shot him was the Parliament, like, sergeant at arms. Yeah,
or whatever.
that guy's a badass. I mean, he's like, you know, former Royal Mounted Canadian Police, and, you know, Jesus,
big, like, looks like a big, like, hockey boy, like a big bone dude, but he's a wee old, not a wee old man, but he's an old dude.
Yeah.
And apparently he was leading, like, all these young cops and everything that are dancing around. He was standing right in the middle. No armor, no anything, and friggin' shot the guy. Like,
yeah, well, he didn't even have a gun on his person. He had to run to his office, back to his office, get the gun, load it, then come back and shoot the guy. I mean, like, you know, I'm so glad that the world has people like that, because if it was me, I'd be running. And I'd be screaming like high pitched, like, listen, I'm a coward. I'll just say, I mean, you never know until you get into that situation how you react. I'm telling you right now, I'd be a coward. I'd be looking for cover. I'd be praying. I'd be asking for my mother. And I'm just glad that there are people who who have that bravery, have that skill, and that wherewithal, and that composure. I heard
from I think it was my mother that told me she'd read an article about him or something. And apparently that was the first time he'd ever shot his gun, apart from training and stuff. Apparently, even after all those years as a cop, because the thing is, if you're a Mountie, a lot of the time you're just in tiny wee towns where nothing ever happens.
Right.
Then there's more senior levels, of course, because they're like our FBI essentially. But when you're a cop with them, like all the major cities have police, so you serve like often the Arctic or tiny little towns that nothing ever happens in. So somebody told me, I swear it was my mother, said that one of his friends gave an interview and said, look, he never even shot his gun at anybody before.
And you believe it because
for American cops, like that's not a daily thing by any means.
Absolutely, they'll shoot you if you don't answer the question properly, especially if you're not white.
Exactly.
That's. I mean, it's sad to say, but I'll say it. It's the reality. The police here have taken, the what we talked about before, with the secure, keeping the streets safe from terrorists or whatever, and they just wind up shooting our own people, and the point of, that you're bringing up here, where you look at the statistics and how many people die of gun involved incidents. I mean, it's like, you could count them on maybe one hand some years when, you compare it to America and it's like 10,000 people a year. It's unbelievable. I
think it was, I quite like him, even though he's English. You know that John Oliver guy? Who was with John Stewart
before? He's amazing.
He's great, super smart man. But I saw like a picture of him on the internet, and he said something like, one guy tries to blow up his shoes in an airport and we've all got to take our shoes off. And I forget how many school shootings there's been since Columbine, but it's just like, it's like you say about the Constitution. When it suits them, they'll twist it.
Right.
Like your freedom and liberty, they don't give a shit about that.
Right.
But all the guns, no, you can't take away our guns. I mean, I don't understand it. But, I mean, it's not my country, so it's not my right to question it or anything. But
it's not my country either. I'll tell you, if it was King Graham, I'd get rid of all the guns. Nobody needs any guns. Stop it. Stop with the stupid guns. You don't need a gun.
Like, I've got a couple other American dudes on Facebook that seem like they're gun nuts and everything, and I just don't. I don't understand it. As a Scottish guy who's lived in Canada for years, even these guys who go hunting and stuff, I just don't understand the appeal. Like going and shooting things, I think it's morbid.
I agree. I mean, I especially given the fact that you can, if you really want to have, if you really want to, take care of that carnivorous instinct, you can run down to the supermarket and get a steak. And it's like already made for you. It's already been carved. You don't need the butcher or anything. And you just pay, a few bucks and you can have a lovely steak. You can prepare it any way you like. You don't need to run off into the wilderness and shoot a buck. But, with that being said, I'm like you, I don't understand the appeal, but I sort of want to resist the urge to judge people because I don't understand them. I mean, okay, if you want, I'm just speaking for myself. If you want to hunt, and you want to go out in the wilderness and play G.I. Joe and all that, that's fine. I mean, if you want a hunting rifle or something like that, and you pass the appropriate checks, like you don't have a mental health problem in your history, and most states in America, that's not even looked into. So if you have mental health issues where you would be predisposed to doing, some of these horrible acts, that's okay. That's not sort of filtered. I mean, there are simple ways that we could filter this out to prevent it, and unfortunately we don't. And you also have to the point that you're bringing up, where you have this element within American society where people feel like, oh, I need to have my Glock, to protect myself. It's like, you live in like the lily white suburbs where nothing would ever happen to you. Like, it's like the scene from Swingers, like, what, in case somebody steps to you, Snoop Dogg? It's like nothing is going. I mean, forget it. Get a dog. Get it like one of those Belgian Malinois or whatever the hell, and get a security system on your house that's loud as hell, and it deafens everybody within a mile radius, including your neighbors. I mean, that's all. You don't need a gun.
was it Chris Rock who said like, we don't have a problem with guns, we have a problem with bullets?
Yeah, exactly.
And he said, like,
exactly.
charge like $500,000 for a bullet. They say, I'm gonna fuck